We've been looking at the word grace, a word that has no opposite, but not to glean its meaning, because each and every one of us have experienced being touched by grace. So we know what grace is. But the question is, from where does grace come? Even yesterday, a lovely being came and related the story of how just a few days ago she received a message on her message phone. No number, no contact, but obviously a wake-up call, a message. From where did it come? We can ask ourselves. And again it takes us back to an old Tibetan story. Stories that can allow us to dive deep within ourselves. It's that story about the great Tibetan lama and saint Patrul Rinpoche. Now Patrul Rinpoche was known throughout all of Tibet. Maybe not personally, but certainly his teachings, his status, his saintliness was known. But unlike other lamas and of that ilk, Patrul Rinpoche did not sit in the Patola palace waiting for people to come, pilgrims and the like. Patrul Rinpoche roamed throughout the land of Tibet as a wandering mendicant. But there was an occasion when Patrul Rinpoche was at a great distance from Lhasa, the capital, but he had to return there because there was to be a great festival at which he would officiate to conduct the White Tara initiation. So he was on the road back to the capital when it so happened that he met a woman with 3 young children. She was a widow. Her husband had recently passed away in a snowdrift, and she was left to take care of her 3 small children. So when Patrul Rinpoche met her on the road and asked her where was she going, she said, I believe there's a great festival to be held in the capital, so I'm going there with the possibility that I might be able to receive alms from people to keep me and my children. So Patrul Rinpoche said to her, I too am going to the capital. Let us travel together. So on the road every day when Patrul Rinpoche stopped at this village or another to beg alms, he brought it back to share with the mother and her children. In the long treks on the road, he told the children stories. And at night time, in the cold of the night, he gathered the 3 little ones under his fur-lined yak jacket to keep them warm. As the journey went on, even the woman who felt safe and nurtured in Patrul Rinpoche's presence suggested to him that they were getting on so well, perhaps they could get married. But they completed their journey and came to the outskirts of the great city of Lhasa, where Patrul Rinpoche said to the woman, "I must leave you here, but we will meet again." And he left her, of course, to enter the Patala palace, where he was greeted by reverend monks, and preparations were made to put him in the garments, the raiments of the status of a great teacher. And the day came for the festival, and Patrul Rinpoche, knowing that people would come with many gifts, which he would usually say to the monks, dispense out to the people in need. To the surprise of the monks, he said, "I am expecting a special guest, so please keep all the donations," which of course they did. On the day of the festival, Patrul Rinpoche stood in all his splendor, his raiments and his conical cap, and people lined up in the many, many hundreds to receive his blessings in the form of the white Tara initiation. They brought their gifts and left them with the monks. Amongst that throng was the woman and her children, waiting in the long queue to come into Patrul Rinpoche's presence. But when she neared the throne, she was shocked, embarrassed, and somewhat ashamed to see that the simple mendicant who had been her companion, her mentor for that long journey, was none other than the very great saint Patrul Rinpoche. She was abashed, but of course Patrul Rinpoche took her aside after all the festivities were over and gave her the gifts that had been given to assure and ensure that she and her children were taken care of for the many years ahead of them. Grace. We know grace. But from where does grace come? Have you looked deep, deep within yourself to find the nucleus, the source, the essence from which those emotions that we have all experienced, including pity, compassion, love, tears, pathos, empathy. Have you ever sought its source with the possibility that when we do so, we tap from where grace arises? This question continues, and there are countless, endless stories which take us back to the source of grace. But until we seek and find within ourself, we cannot know. Grace. From where does grace arise? Who are you?